Welcome to the Talking Cities podcast with Matt Enstis and friends. Talking Cities is the place where we talk and investigate cutting-edge innovations for cities in America and beyond, featuring people working to create vibrant, healthier, and more sustainable communities and exploring the beauty and creativity in it all. On this week's episode, the BNMC Director of Inclusion and Community Initiatives, Kyria Stephens, sits down with Tayrin Tapia, Visionary and Chief Empowerment Officer at Latinas Evolving. Tayrin Tapia is a well-respected business consultant and an advocate for Latinas empowerment and progression. Through her work, she strives to make significant and positive impact on their lives and the community as a whole. Tayrin is also the visionary behind Latinas Evolving. Her mission with this initiative is to empower Latinas by offering them resources, opportunities for access, safe spaces, and inspirational programs. She aims to address topics that directly impact the growth and development of Latinas, fostering their personal and professional advancements. Let's listen in as we learn more about Tayrin Tapia. Welcome to Talking Cities.
Hey fam, this is Kyria Stephens, Director of Inclusion and Community Initiatives. Here, welcome to another episode of the Talking Cities podcast. I am so excited to be talking to my friend Tayrin Tapia. Gotta say it like that because, you know, when you're friends and your family, you get to pick with them a little bit. So welcome.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Well. You know, got me a little chicken biscuit, so I'm feeling good.
And for the record, yes, it is a chicken biscuit from Wendy's, as a matter of fact.
No, we ain't giving them no play. You can sponsor this, Wendy's. You want to, come on with it though. So thank you for coming on. Just tell us 101, who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is Tayrin Tapia, and Tayrin to my friends, I guess. And I'm the visionary for Latinas Evolving, also owner of Dear Tayrin, non-for-profit organization. And I'm here to speak with you and talk about everything Latinas Evolving and community-wise.
Yeah. So you are a serial entrepreneur, and I've known you to wear a lot of different hats. So take me back to how you first started that entrepreneurial bug. When did it bite you, and where were you at? How did that evolve?
Yeah, I would say that started back when I was young. I remember there was one time that my mom used to make these magnets with these flowers, these dry flowers, and she would just make it for the house. And I told her, you could sell these. You could probably sell these for $2, $3. And that's when we first moved to Buffalo. We were living on Grant Street. That's when Video Factory was around. And we had the Polaroid camera. And so I took her Polaroid camera and took pictures of the little magnets. And I said, I'm going to go around. And I went around up and down Grant Street to the different stores, to different people, and attempting to sell this product. And I would show them the Polaroid pictures, and I had a pen and paper with me and say, hey, would you like to order? And you could order whatever scent you'd like, whatever color flower you like, whatever, magnet you like. We're more than willing to change it around, but these are examples. And I got quite a bit of orders. They paid and we delivered, and I wouldn't say I gathered up about $50, $60 in between all that. And I just remember my mom letting me keep the money, and then I ended up using it right back on her. It was her birthday at that time, and then I bought her cake and flowers. And so I would say that was probably my first real entrepreneur job without even realizing what I was doing.
So you said when you first moved to Buffalo, so where were you before?
Born in Puerto Rico, went and lived in New York City from the age of 5. I got to New York City, about the age of 5, lived in Bronx, New York, Michelle Parkway. And lived there till about when I was 12.
Okay. Great. So you got to Buffalo when you were around
12 or 13. Yep.
12, 13.
Yeah.
So tell me about coming from Puerto Rico to New York City and then Buffalo. How was that transition for you?
So moving from Puerto Rico to New York City was definitely a transition because I was a 5-year-old little girl who only knew Spanish. I didn't know nothing of English. However, kids are resilient and they tend to learn things quickly. And I took on the English language pretty quickly. They put me in a bilingual school. I think it was kindergarten or first grade. I remember being there with my cousin. And so in the household that we were living in with my aunt and my cousins, they all spoke English. My mom was bilingual, but I was the only one who only predominantly spoke Spanish. And I just learned it by speaking to my cousins in school and so forth. Learned it quickly, and it took on from there. And then we lived in a big city for a long time. But I remember probably the first year of us living in New York City, my father came to visit about a year later. And what he left behind was this 5-year-old, timid, shy, young little girl who would not really want to speak to anybody, not really talk to anybody and socialize. And when he came, it was a completely different Tayrin. I had come out of my shell, and I was speaking even in English and so forth. And he was just like, "What is going on here?"
Wait, so like, how was that? How long was that between?
1 year, in a 1 year time period. Yeah,
that's amazing. I mean, for you to learn English and start, because I only know this like very confident, like, so I couldn't imagine you being timid and all
I
those
can't
things.
imagine either.
Because you go get it. You go get it. So you came, you learned English, you conquered the English language, and now you're conquering entrepreneurship. So, so tell me about Latinas Evolving, and how you got there. What is Latinas Evolving?
Yeah. So Latinas Evolving was birthed March of last year, when I identified a need in our community, seeing that we have a lot of areas where we do not have Latinas represented, or just Latinos represented, period. And especially in the job market, example, there's a lot of staffing agencies that do not have Latinas or Latinos or somebody who speaks both languages in those positions, in recruiting positions. They may work there, they may be just an assistant, but they don't have recruiter positions. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 working at the Buffalo Employment Training Center, from the last I heard. But there's not a lot of opportunity for those individuals who only speak Spanish to then come and speak with recruiters or individuals like them, because they feel, timid to speak to anybody that speaks English. They don't feel like their English is great. And some of them, their English is great, but they just feel more comfortable speaking Spanish. And so if they don't know, or if they don't see somebody that is relatable, they rather just not even approach them. And so they'll wait till they go to community centers like the Bell Center or the Hispanic place on, why am I forgetting their name right now? Hispanic Women's League, but then there's Hispanos Unidos. Hispanos Unidos is what I was thinking about. So places like that, and they'll look for places like that to speak to individuals, and then have them be like the middle person to speak with them and say, hey, what do you know? What are examples of places that I can go to speak to somebody solely in Spanish, or what can you refer us to? Because they'll feel deterred to speak to other places like that. So initially, I started it off with trying to help in that area, in the workforce development area. And then it just kind of just roller coastered on its own and just spiraled into this thing of helping Latina entrepreneurs. And so I assist Latina entrepreneurs within the 0 to 3 year beginning stages of their career. In entrepreneurship and their business, and basically just guiding them as to whatever they need. So if it can be somebody who already started but probably feels stuck, or somebody who wants to start but doesn't know how to go about it, and guiding them to those resources, whatever those resources are, or if it's something that I can help them out with, I can, I surely sit down with them and coach them and consult them in that.
Now, is there a specific industry or sector that Latinas Evolving, that you guys focus on, like maybe, what is that, like mom and pop, or, Main Street businesses, or is that tech, or like, is there a specific industry, or is it just any?
So far, no, not specific to any specific industry. But so far I'm working with individual who is example, I have somebody who just came to me who's going into construction. It's a Latina who wants to go into the construction business and already is doing construction things related. But she wants to kind of figure out how does she embark on that journey and get herself known to work with contractors and the government and so forth. So guiding her through that. I have another individual who's in the production, company type of ways and doing live events and doing, helping with that. So it all depends on what's going on. I have somebody else who's working as a wellness coach. Somebody else who is in the beauty and tattoo spa type of thing. So it all depends. So usually it's like those type of individuals are the individuals who are coming to me. But
okay, so you're working with women and Latinas, so when it comes to MWBE and working with minorities and women, usually it's thought of as, and some people might get mad at me, but this is just kind of the truth. It's usually white women or it's black people, and usually Latinos and Latinas, they're usually not thought of as, I don't know if it's intentional, but they're not usually focused on. What would you say would be something that if a person wanted to expand their network and start to help Latinas in the workforce and in entrepreneurship, what would be some of the things that you would say they need to think about and focus on in order to open up that pipeline and integrate that network into their own network?
Yeah, I would say networking, period. That would be the first thing, is networking with these organizations like the Hispanic Women's League when they have their events. Whenever I have events with Latinas Evolving, whenever the Hispanic Heritage Council has events, those are great opportunities to network with these individuals or individuals that are in charge of these organizations, because they then can help spread the word to the communities that they're very interactive with and engaged with. The Hispanic Puerto Rican Day Parade just passed. That was a great opportunity to network in the streets and be there and go to the local mom and pop shops and talk to those individuals or those business owners that are there. But yeah, you're right. I think in many ways we're forgotten. We're like in the middle, stuck in the middle somewhere. And that is one of the reasons why I do this, is because I'm trying to put these individuals in those spaces and to be relatable faces in spaces that you never thought of. Yeah. And for them to know about these programs that they don't even realize are out there. There's grants, there's opportunities and programs that they can take advantage of, MWBE being one of them. I actually brought that up just recently to one of my clients, and they had no idea, about this. So it's great to be able to show them that there are these opportunities, but then we also need to do better at making sure that they know about these opportunities in all areas, that it's out there, that we are promoting it in how many ways possible, and every single community center and every opportunity that we have to advocate for everyone to be able to take advantage of those programs. Yeah.
So back to you learning English so quick. Do you feel, because I kind of feel this, do you feel that companies should have more Spanish-speaking people there and put more of their literature and all of that stuff in Spanish? Because, if we're looking at the data, if we look into the future, a lot of our country is going to be Spanish-speaking people. So what are your thoughts on, where we are as a city when it comes to Spanish-speaking Spanish? And what do you think? I'm going to just leave it there.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I think we put so much emphasis as society, as companies, as however we want to put it, on that Hispanic or Spanish speaking people have to learn English in order for them to make it. They're the ones who have to learn the English. But nobody's saying, well, how about we also try to learn Spanish and meet them halfway? Yeah. Or how about putting individuals who speak the language in those positions so that we can help them and guide them to get the programs or be able to get the jobs that they need necessary. So it's figuring out, it's both ways. It's not just, them learning how to speak English, but it's also us learning the language as well, or attempting to, or putting people in those positions so that they can assist them in those positions or grants or whatever it is that they need to apply for, because it is true that there's so many applications out there that are only in English. And it can be very overwhelming looking at an application just in English and not understand it. So for somebody who only speaks or understands the Spanish language better than English, it can be very scary to apply for something and then think you're applying for one thing and come to find out that what you did was something completely different. Yeah. So it's having those individuals in place.
Yeah. So I completely agree. I think we need to do a better job at, if we're going to be the type of city we want to be, it's got to be. And some people might say, well, you need to learn the language. And yeah, there might be some of that. But if we're not thinking about how we're going to meet all people, we're going to miss out on a lot of talent, because there's a lot of talented people, a lot of, resources in every way in the Hispanic community. So talk to me a little bit about the Hispanic community in Buffalo. What makes you proud? What are some of the things that you would want people to know about the Hispanic community in Buffalo?
Yeah. I was at the Puerto Rican Hispanic Day Parade this weekend, and it was beautiful to see so many more individuals that were wanting to be a part of the parade. So the parade was a lot longer than normal. Yeah. I wanted to sit back and kind of just enjoy and see everybody, pass by. One of the things that I actually loved about this year's parade is that I saw a lot of women empowerment. They had, I don't know if it was the NFTA or the police, but they had this vintage police car that went by, and there were two females driving the car. Absolutely beautiful to see. There's a lot of, in our culture, we have a lot of machismo, or where the man, has to be the one. So to see Hispanic women driving cars or their own vehicles and so forth, or just marching and just seeing different things. Seeing Beatriz from El Bate dancing up there on their own float and being their leader that she is, absolutely gorgeous to see the women empowerment and the support that they received during this parade. So absolutely love that about our community. And I would say that there's definitely a rise in the females in our community, in our culture, that are paving a whole new way. It's a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of collaborating, and a whole new way of going forward and being catalyst for those individuals who felt that they needed to kind of go against each other. And so they're saying, no, we're not doing this anymore. We are changing that. Me being part of them, Maria Cruz from the Hispanic Women's League, Beatriz from El Bate, all individuals, and I know I'm forgetting other individuals, but females who are catalysts in this community and saying, no, we're changing this. We're changing this mindset, and we want to take that curse out of, what this community can be, and showing our new generation how it should be.
So what has been the catalyst, the impetus? Like, what has been the thing that has sparked that in the community? Was there an event? Like, is it just seems like there's a great awakening? What is happening that is sparking that? Yeah,
I think it's just a great awakening in between all of us, saying this is what we need and identifying the things that we need in our community. There's so many individuals that will complain, right? Complain about our city, I mean, I moved here back when I was towards the end of 7th grade. When I moved to Buffalo, it was deserted. You can see like that little thing that goes on the desert that goes around the desert.
I can see it, right? Tumbleweed.
Yeah, the tumbleweed.
There we go.
I swear. I mean, especially coming from New York City, right? You go from New York City, who's a live city, and I remember walking downtown and be like, oh my God, this is our city. Like, this is their downtown. I was like, okay. But I remember being kind of taken aback by that. To where it's at now. We have grown so much as a city. And with that, our generation of women and men have identified things that have not worked for us in the Hispanic community. And instead of us complaining about it and saying, oh, this is wrong, blah, 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 but not doing anything about it, we decided to just step up and decided to do something about it and changing it. And we may be going against the grain and we may be stepping on some toes, and some people will probably not like what we have to say. But it's needed. It's needed.
So what do you think the biggest needs or challenges to that movement of entrepreneurship, of you guys being unified, and this groundswell of Hispanic pride to kind of take your place at the table in Buffalo, to be not just recognized, but to help to influence how we're growing? What are some of those things that are you would see would be roadblocks or hurdles that we need to pay attention to as a community to help remove those things? Because it can't just be the Hispanic community that is doing that. How can we as a community, what are those barriers and how can we remove them?
I would say, obviously, changing a mindset is hard, right? It's when somebody is already set in their mindsets of how something should be. That's probably one of the biggest struggles and challenges that we face. So it's educating them and showing them how it should be, and what can come from that. The beautiful aftermath of something so good that can change the narrative of our community, instead of fighting against each other and being jealous or saying, oh, this person's starting this or this person's starting that and they're against us. No, how about we all have a space? We all have a seat. We all can sit at the table and let's collaborate, or let's work together to change our community, to uplift each other. So many other communities, and I'm not saying that all the Hispanic communities like this. There's many of the Hispanic community that are uplifting each other and finding ways to grow and evolve, right? But there's so many other communities that I've seen that will get together and say, hey, we're going to help this person buy a house. And then once we're done with that person buying a house, we're going to help that, the next person and the next person. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, that coming together. And with businesses, we have these programs and so forth. We're going to have these programs help with these businesses. And we're going to encourage the Black community and say that. But then where do we find that in our Latino community? I don't see that a lot, where we are doing that enough for our own Latino community. And it shouldn't be about different races, right? It should be all of us, because we're all just human. At the end of the day, we're bones under the skin. That's all we are. We all look the same, or not the same under, but we're just bones at the same time. It's not no color. There's nothing else. So it's about helping each other out and identifying that. And I think it's important to have these kind of conversations, right? Because you see that, you identify that, and you want to help, and you are one of the reasons, right, why we're here today, why where you are today, because you are a person who has always identified that need and how can we help each other. But we need more individuals like yourself to see that, to say we need to help each other.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I think one of the things that has, helped to open my eyes is because I'm around Hispanic people. And I think back to the integrating networks, like, people's minds think where their feet stand. And if you haven't been in those spaces, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what you don't know. You've already given some places where people can kind of, meet and be integrated into the Hispanic community and so on and so forth. But what would you say to a person who says, I feel uncomfortable going in because I don't speak Spanish, or all I know is tacos and nachos and uno, dos, tres. How, what would you say to a person who hasn't really dealt with or had any real interactions with the Hispanic community besides going to, I'm not going to say the restaurant name, but besides going to a restaurant, they don't deal with Hispanic community. Like, how would you say to approach and to be integrated into because I know that the Hispanic community is a very loving, very, very loving, very passionate community. How would you tell a person or even a business to, an organization to start to dive into the Hispanic community?
I would say, well, first of all, it's the other way around, right? Us Hispanics, we may not feel comfortable going to a person who is not of our race to even approach them, to even have a conversation. So understanding that the nervousness or the fear is both ways, right? So even when that person coming in our community, we're like, wait, what's going on? Why are they coming to shut me down? Like, what's going on? They don't know. But I would say if they do not feel comfortable going by themselves or just don't feel comfortable having the conversation by themselves, is to collaborate with somebody like myself, somebody who's already in the community, who is making a way and engaging very much with the community that could be their way in. Or if there is any kind of event that is available where it provides vending, vendors and so forth, that is another way in. I know that a lot of the opportunities that have been presented for myself, I have been sharing them with my clients and individuals that I've been working with, and that's opening them up to all these other opportunities that they didn't even know of. But those opportunities are presented to me because I've just been so involved in the community in so many different ways for so many years that individuals know to gravitate to me to show me these opportunities, but they wouldn't normally go to those individuals because they don't know of them. Right. So that's why I then try to share the information as much as possible so that these entrepreneurs can also take advantage of those programs, because at the end of the day, I mean, I lift them up. It's also lifting me up, It's not just about me and me just only taking advantage of the programs and them not doing anything. I want them to grow and be able to do everything with excellence.
Yeah, so basically you're telling them just pull up, right?
Yep, just pull up. just pull up.
Pull up and we got you. Great. Yeah. So back to Latinas Evolving. We've had the privilege of being a sponsor.
Thank you very much.
Do some really great work at your events. Just talk to me about your events and what's coming up, because I could talk to you all day, but our time is getting
I know.
So tell me a little bit about Latinas Evolving, what you have done, where it's going, and where it's going next.
Okay. So the first event we had last September at Medalla University, and we focused on Latinas of Power and Influence, the topic was really to talk about workforce diversity in the workforce place and overcoming obstacles. And a very successful event, amazing, had about 5 panelists. And then this last one, which was the one that BNMC sponsored, was the Latinas Talk STEM, which is talking about science, technology, engineering, and math. And we had another 5 panelists, and amazing, talking about in all different types of fields, all in all those different fields. And it was also a successful event. And then I have one that's coming up next year, everything to be determined right now, but I will disclose the name. So it's going to be called Making Power Moves. And it's definitely focused on the health and wellness area. But excited to work with the clients that I'm working with. and what's to come from that. But with that as well, this year we've been working on the Cafecito Tempranito con Tayrin events, which is where I meet up with clients or the members of Latinas Evolving, the entrepreneurs who want to come. But it's open to any, all entrepreneurs who would like to come and just have a conversation, and we'll speak on different topics. I try to do it at least once a month, but with the summer months, we kind of just taken a break and just been supporting each other's businesses. The next one would be in October, and that was a spooky event. And then trying to think what else. And then we have the Latinas Evolving on the Road edition, which is where we support other Latina entrepreneurs in the city. So right now supporting each other.
What does that mean, support each other?
Yeah, so the first one, we went to Sweet M's, which is located in Tonawanda. She's the Latina-owned bakery, cafe type of feel. Beautiful, beautiful spot. She's done amazing decor, amazing work. She handles everything with professionalism. And she actually came from Puerto Rico, I think she said about 5 years ago. And was working on her craft from home. And then in the last 2 years said, okay, well, I can't do this from home anymore. I need to find a space. And so for a year, they were looking for a space. They finally found a space, and she started working on opening the business. And so all the Latina Evolving members will go to that space on that day. And that's why we call it Latinas Evolving on the Road edition, because we're going on the road to those Latina entrepreneurs, spaces, and supporting them by buying their products or their services, whatever it is that they may be doing. So we should be doing another one now, either in October or November. We haven't determined yet what the space is, but that's a way of us giving back to the community, supporting other Latina-owned businesses.
I love that. That's real support. Saying, on Facebook, good job is, it's great. But when you pull up and you spend your money and you take a picture and you post it and reshare that, that's real. That's some real support. So last question is, if you had to share your favorite place or a place that represents Buffalo to you, for a person who is either coming in for the first time, or a person who doesn't really know their way around, or maybe a person who hasn't really experienced a lot of Buffalo, where would you tell them to go and why?
Oh, man. Just Buffalo, period.
Just Buffalo, period.
Buffalo, period. I love so many places.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Oh, man, it is. We have grown so much. Now, have you had asked me back when I first came to Buffalo?
We talk about that.
That's a whole different conversation. Oh, my God, there's so many places now. Like, I would say tour. You have to tour to so many different places here, because it's not just one spot.
Okay, well, who should be the tour guide then?
Oh, geez, you. You have to definitely see the Buffalo Bills Stadium. Yeah. You have to, especially once we get the new one. That's a huge thing. Canal Side is a huge thing. Yeah. Going up Niagara Street to check out all the Hispanic spots and Avenida San Juan, because a lot has changed also on Niagara Street. Trying to think what other restaurants that I absolutely love.
I think my favorite restaurant on Niagara Street. Is it on Niagara Street? Niagara Cafe.
Niagara Cafe.
I was just there. And
Niagara Cafe, La Flor, which is right across the street. There's another spot, not necessarily Hispanic, but it's a vegan spot actually on Niagara Street for those who love vegan food. It's up more. I just went to it. I want to say it says S&H on the outside, and I can't remember the name exactly. I'm so sorry. But it's towards downtown. I know. I'm so sorry. Yep.
People to go find it. Go up Niagara Street and find a cafe, or just pop in and explore. I think if we were more curious and we begin to test our boundaries and we're intentional about integrating our networks and getting people outside of our norm to be our friends and be our network, then we'd be a lot better off. And I think the city is starting to do that a lot more, and I'm really excited about that. So thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Tell
Thank
people
you for
how they
having me.
could. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming. Can you just tell people how they could reach you or get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. They can either go to the website, latinasevolving.com, or follow us on Instagram, Latinas_evolving, or on Facebook under just Latinas Evolving. Our Latinas Evolving members are also at different spots. There's an event coming up in October under Gitana, which is a live music event, which you should definitely check out. It's a Caribbean Latin, like, speakeasy type of feel. Yeah. This last weekend actually was amazing. They had Jatuan Louie as the opener. She's actually going to be in The Color Purple, which is coming up at Shays. Melinda Capella's, which gave kind of like a Cuban Nights type of feel. Theme was beautiful, and she had also a dancer who did a impromptu, or not impromptu, but a special performance with Melinda, Megan Evans. I don't know if I'm saying her last name correctly. Evans Recapeel. But she did an amazing dance performance in that moment. But all these Gitana events are beautiful, beautiful. And it's such an intimate live music and beautiful event. You definitely have to check it out in October.
Text me.
I gotta,
because I'm gonna forget.
So as soon as the tickets go on sale, I'll let you know, because they have been selling out. This last event was sold out quickly. But yeah, it's been pretty good.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Talk soon.
You.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I know this was fire, so click that subscribe and all of that stuff and follow us.
And pull up.
Thank you for listening to the Talking Cities podcast with Matt Enstis and friends. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on all podcast streaming platforms. Talking Cities is brought to you by the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, dedicated to furthering economic growth, igniting urban revitalization, and building a strong, thriving community. Using our mutual city methodology, we foster conversation and collaboration among anchor institutions, partners in the community. Together, we address critical issues including job and business opportunities, healthy and active living, entrepreneurship, energy, access, and transportation. The Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, working together to change our city's future.